Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 14th meeting of the Brighton Town Board. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and I gotta say, it's really good to see live people here in a meeting. Governor Cuomo has allowed the state executive order that permitted local government bodies to conduct their meetings remotely. That order has now expired, and accordingly, this is our first live in-person meeting of the Brighton Town Board since February of 2020, and I do mean it. It is very good to see people in the crowd. I think it's particularly appropriate that as we gather together here at Town Hall in person for the first time in nearly a year and a half, that we also collectively acknowledge that the town of Brighton is situated on the ancestral and traditional lands of the Onondaga tribe of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, whom we recognize and respect as the traditional custodians of this land throughout the generations. We pay our respect to the Onondaga elders, both past and present, just as we study and learn from the history and culture of all our residents. The history, the culture, and the traditions of the Onondaga are worthy of our understanding and study, and we praise those who keep those traditions alive. We recognize that that study is of ongoing importance if we are to truly understand the history of our community and our nation, and we support efforts to ensure that we and future generations continue that study and that respect in a way that is honest and truthful, so that in the words of Sacagawea, we may always work together to brighten the chain of friendship. We will begin the open forum portion of our meeting shortly. At that time, members of the public will have the opportunity to share their comments with the town board. Obviously, those of you that are here and those of you that have signed up, if you're here and would still like to speak but have not signed up yet, please do so out at the front table in the lobby. If you're watching from home, either on our YouTube live stream or on Brighton Cable Access Channel 1303 on Spectrum, you can call in at 303-3060, in which case someone will take your call and pass along your comments to me. We also continue to make our meetings accessible to the deaf and the hard of hearing community with our ASL interpreters. Tonight, our interpreters are Allie and Heather, and we really appreciate all the long nights you've spent with us on Zoom. It's wonderful to see you both in person. Yes. As a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, if you're not here with us in person, as well as all the material that we will be referring to through the evening to make our decisions, all of those are available on the Town of Brighton webpage at www.townofbrighton.org. I'd like to ask everybody to stand physically or in spirit, if you're not able to, for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Because we do have so many people here tonight, I'm going to keep my opening remarks brief, but as I do at each meeting, I want to talk briefly about our lawn and garden debris pickup. As a reminder, whenever possible, please containerize your debris, either in trash cans or in the brown paper bags available at hardware or home supply stores. And that's especially true for smaller quantities of debris. It really helps us move more efficiently. It keeps your neighborhoods cleaner if you containerize those debris. If you have a large volume of material, of course, please leave it on the grass by the street, we will pick up in bulk. But the bulk pickup takes longer for our crews to circulate through the town. If you'd like to know when our crews are going to be in your neighborhood, either for bulk pickup or for containerized pickup, we have maps on the town's webpage. They'll tell you where the crews are going to be working over the next couple days. Just as a reminder, we do not pick up grass clippings. They should be left on your lawn. They will nourish your lawn. And of course, if you choose and compost your other debris, that's great too. Okay, now we are going to proceed with our open forum. And I know many of you have not attended meetings of the Brighton Town Board in the past, and again, I want to welcome you here this evening. We hold this open forum at the start of every town board meeting. While we're meeting in person again, we do continue to observe precautions designed to keep us all safe. Those precautions are particularly important tonight given the large crowd that we have here. First and foremost, I do want to assure everyone that if you've signed up to speak during the open forum at the table out in the lobby, you will have a chance to speak tonight. And if you haven't, again, if you haven't signed up yet but would like to speak, feel free to sign up. As you notice, we continue to limit capacity in each of our rooms and require all visitors to wear masks, although you may remove your mask when you're at the podium speaking, as I am at the moment, and please replace it when you finish speaking. Throughout the open forum, I will call the name of the next speaker who can come to the podium, as well as the names of the following two speakers. And if those following two speakers are not already up here in the main auditorium, you can come up from downstairs, and if you're outside, we will text you to let you know that you're on deck. We've got two chairs set up in the lobby if you're coming up from downstairs, so that you can use those until it actually is your turn to speak. As I mentioned, when you get to the podium, you may remove your mask. If you would please state your name and address for the record. When you finish speaking, I encourage you, if you so choose and want to watch the rest of the meeting on our YouTube live stream, you can do that. If you do plan to stay, please consider going downstairs to watch down there so that people that are there can come up here. We do have a large screen set up down there with speakers. I ask all of our speakers tonight, if possible, to limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Our goal here tonight and at every town board meeting during the open forum is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen to your words. I don't anticipate that board members will be responding to your questions tonight, but be assured that we are intently listening to your remarks. To that end, please direct your remarks only to the town board members and not to other speakers or to the room as a whole. I understand that many of the speakers tonight are passionate about the matter that you have come here to address. Please keep your remarks civil, and please avoid making personal attacks. Also, please refrain from outbursts during the open forum out of respect for the speakers and for the time of everyone here tonight. We do look forward to hearing what you have to say tonight, and we're glad to be able to offer you this opportunity for you to participate in government here in Brighton. Now, I do have the lists, the first 2 pages of people as they signed up. And as I indicated, I will call a first name, and then the two names after that will be the next two speakers. So our first speaker, and you can come to the podium. And again, I'll remind all the speakers, if you would please, state your name and address. Our first speaker is Roberta Schwartz. And Roberta, you can come up. Our next two speakers are Rashida Price and Rajesh Barnabas. And you can either stay in your seat or sit in the room in the back. Ms. Schwartz?
My name is Roberta Schwartz, and I live at 995 Highland Avenue in Brighton. So I am an older Jewish woman who lives in Brighton. I'm here to fully support Robin Wilt, who even according to one of her very, very few Brighton critics, and I quote, has made an effort to be religiously inclusive in her time on the town board and as an advocate for racial justice, end of quote. Yes, we are indeed lucky to have Robin on the Brighton Town Board. And when I look around this room and see her young supporters, many of whom are people of color, I want to ally myself with Wilt and her young progressive supporters who are working hard for social justice and for those people whose voices have not traditionally been represented or heeded. Palestinians and Jews in our community need people like Robin who recognize that it's time to stop the racism that exists in this country and, in my opinion, in Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I understand everybody's passion and enthusiasm, and you're going to hear some powerful words tonight, I know, but to keep it moving, I would ask that we allow us to move in each case to our next speaker. Rashida Price is our next speaker, and Rajesh Barnabas and Ricardo Adams are now on deck. Rashida? Oh, so you're not going to speak? Okay, fine. Then Rajesh? And after Ricardo, Rachel Rosner.
Rajesh Barnabas, resident of Brighton and supporter of Robin Wilt. During the campaign, I think it was a political kind of assassination technique to elevate hearsay and non-historical evidence to oppose Robin, and I'm here just to support and clear up the confusion that she is very supportive of human rights, whether they be under attack, whether it be Jewish people that are the victim or Palestinians, and she's demonstrated that throughout her career. So I'm in fully support of Robin Wilt, and I just want to make sure that the community does their research, everybody does their research before they assign kind of racist characterizations of anybody in the community. It's important for everybody in a democracy to do their own research and not rely on the loudest person in the room to get their information. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Rajesh. And I do want to acknowledge the work that you put in yourself as part of the political process as a candidate this past primary cycle. Mr. Adams, Ricardo Adams, is our next speaker. After Rachel Rosner, Michael Argamon.
My name is Ricardo Adams. I live in the city, which is a part of this community. I live at 703 Arnett. I'm a Rochester City School District School Board Commissioner. I'm an elected official, a black elected official who knows Robin Wilt very well, and I'm here, it's my duty to support and love her, and I'm here to just stand with her. I shouldn't have to even be here, because this is 2021. With the way the world and the country is going on, it's really crazy that I have to get up here and say this. But for the few people that know me, I don't get up and do this for just anybody. I know Robin Wilt well, and this here is just, it's some nonsense going on. And I just hope we get it straightened out, man, and she don't have to be suffering and going through this anymore. I stand with you. I love you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Rachel Rosner, hello, Rachel. And Michael Argamon, and after that, Nate Baldo will be after Mr. Argamon. Rachel, good evening.
Hi, I'm Rachel Rosner, and I live at 35 Brandywine Lane. I have been a Brighton resident for over 25 years. I'm here to speak today, to speak out in support of Robin Wilt. As a Jewish person with deep roots in several Jewish organizations in Brighton, the events of the last couple of months have been increasingly difficult to grapple with. What started as a personal show of solidarity to friends was twisted by people who don't know anything about Robin other than her role in town government. They have painted her as an anti-Semite for a picture with a Palestinian acquaintance. That and the use of a viral hashtag is literally the only evidence they have. The fact that the people behind this smear campaign are Jewish literally makes me sick to my stomach. This group is weaponizing our faith to twist words, spread blatant lies, and to instill fear and panic in our community. As a Jew, I'm disgusted. They have taken their bully pulpit on social media and used it to bully and harass a Black woman, the only person of color on the town board, and one of the few Black elected officials in our area. They claim to want civil conversation, but when anyone who has a different perspective attempts to engage, they are attacked with name-calling, bullying, and vitriol. These online attacks have now spilled over into the real world. I have personally been harassed and threatened, both online and off, for attempting to engage in civil discourse with my fellow Jews. A police report has been filed with the Brighton Police Department. When I reached out to the administrators of the online group Brighton Stands Against Anti-Semitism for support in condemning the threats against me, I was told in no uncertain terms by multiple members of the administrators of that group that I got what I deserved. They believe I deserve to be threatened and harassed for standing up for the rights of every person, not just Jewish people. They believe I deserve to be threatened and harassed for defending a Black female elected official who has done nothing improper, either personally or professionally. This behavior does not reflect Jewish values and is not an accurate reflection of our town and its residents. Our town officials must not allow this small number of loud voices to win out. Brighton is known as a town that is constantly striving to do better for everyone who chooses to live here. Brighton has been recognized for our amazing parks, trails, and sidewalks. We are home to houses of worship for many faith traditions. We are known as a welcoming place for everyone, and most especially for our diversity and inclusivity. As the last several weeks, and the many years before that, have shown, there is still much work to do here in Brighton. Every person is entitled to their own beliefs and can express their own opinions. In this case, a line has been crossed. Those condemning Ms. Wilt are basing their attacks on falsehoods and outright lies. Their hysteria has crossed over from honest concern over possible anti-Semitism to real-life racist attacks on the only female Black elected official in our town. These people are not fighting anti-Semitism in Brighton. They are using twisted logic and disinformation to instill a false sense of panic in our Jewish neighbors. They are viciously attacking an elected official in overtly racist ways. When their attempts to support her primary challenger failed, they regrouped. Now they are calling for the town supervisor to remove Ms. Wilt from her role as the board liaison to the IDEA board, on the false premise that she is anti-Semitic, despite there being no evidence to back up these claims. This committee was Robin's brainchild. Its creation was one of her campaign promises when she ran 4 years ago. Throughout the process of its creation, Robin has fought to ensure that every voice is represented on the IDEA committee, and measurable progress has been made. To remove the Black woman who created the IDEA committee from her position as its liaison to the town board is racist, plain and simple. And we will not stand for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Michael, good evening. And Nate Baldo and Rabbi Dorora Settle are the next two.
My name is Michael Argamon. I speak this evening as a resident of Brighton and a dual citizen of the United States and Israel. There's a concept in Hebrew from Jewish tradition called sinat chinam, which means hatred for no reason. This is what the personal attacks on a Brighton Town Board member and longtime ally of the Jewish community and of all marginalized communities feels like. Sinat chinam, hatred for no reason. Anti-Semitism is real, but misusing a claim of anti-Semitism where it does not exist is harmful, and it will make it harder to take actual claims of actual anti-Semitism seriously. To quote an often silent Supreme Court justice, who I rarely quote, this feels like a high-tech lynching. Recently, there was an online event, actually an inquisition, which masqueraded as a discussion with the Brighton Town Board regarding anti-Semitism in the community. It was actually a session focused on personally attacking one member only, Robin Wilt, while intentionally misquoting her and asking her to answer for statements made by others. Although the town board has often talked about diversity and inclusion, it was only when Robin Wilt was elected 4 years ago that this work by the town board was formalized. The establishment of this committee was her idea, and she campaigned on this concept and then implemented it. The ridiculous demand that she be removed from this committee doesn't even pass the laugh test. I urge the town board to reject this mean-spirited demand and allow Robin Wilt to continue her good work on this topic. As a Jew and as an Israeli citizen who served in the IDF and supports human rights for all, I say free Palestine, which can be accomplished by taking into account the security, freedom, and justice for Israeli Jews and Palestinian Arabs. Without justice, there is no real possibility for peace. And I also would like to present a petition to the town board signed by over 500 people regarding Robin and, keeping her on the committee.
Thank you. If you would present. Thank you, Michael, and we will enter that petition into the record of tonight's meeting. Next is Nate Baldo, and Rabbi Settle and Pamela Kim Adams are the next two speakers.
Good evening. My name is Nate Baldo, and while I'm currently a city resident, I grew up in Brighton, went to Brighton High School, and certainly feel connected to the community. In line with what others have said this evening, I wanted to thank Robin Wilt for her steadfast support for fundamental human rights in both word and deed. As a member of the Jewish community, my values are rooted in solidarity with communities and people struggling for justice. And I recognize that our struggles are interconnected, be it the struggle for Black liberation, the struggle against anti-Semitism, the struggle for justice in Palestine, and so many others. I wanted to personally thank you for taking the time to speak with me when I've personally encountered anti-Semitism. You instantly understood my experience and why I was so frustrated, and were truly a voice of comfort during a very difficult time. Because of your steadfast advocacy for so many liberation struggles, including the struggle for justice in Palestine, I recognize that as a Jewish person, I could not have a better ally in the struggle against anti-Semitism. I'm truly honored to serve under your leadership for justice and fundamental human rights. You've been a personal role model and have consistently shown what true moral courage is. And in that vein, I would also deeply urge other members of this board to support Robert's efforts. We're truly lucky to have her leadership. Thank you.
And just to be clear, because I know we've had a couple of folks who indicated they're from the city, we welcome you to speak tonight wherever you live. You do not have to be a Brighton resident. You don't have to be a citizen to speak here in this group. Rabbi, good evening. It's great to have you.
Good evening.
Next, we have Pamela Kim Adams and Tori, and I think that says maybe McAvoy. It got a little smudged, but Rabbi, the floor is yours.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'm Dora Settle. I'm the rabbi of Temple Emmanuel, which has recently moved into Brighton, sharing space at the JCC, and I know some of you, and I look forward to getting to know the rest of you. But I'm not here in my official capacity this evening. I'm here as a friend of both Robin Wilt and a number of the people who have been speaking out against her. And the reason why I say that is because it is so important that we create lines of communication between people so that we can have constructive conflict, and that when we disagree with one another, we hear each other in a respectful and dignified way. And unfortunately, that has not been what has happened in these interactions recently around Robin's position here with the town board. I'm concerned that in trying to remove her from the IDEA committee, I'm getting used to
Idea.
idea. I can say idea, okay. From idea that this is exactly the opposite of what needs to happen for anybody who wants a constructive engagement around very difficult and painful issues. We don't do it by silencing each other, we do it by listening to each other. Michael spoke earlier about Sinat Hinam, about this idea of needless hatred, and on Sunday there is a Jewish fast day, Tisha B'Av, that commemorates the destruction of the ancient temple in Jerusalem. And our tradition teaches that that temple was destroyed not because the Romans invaded, but because the Jews themselves were so caught up in vitriolic argument and hatred for one another that they were not able to organize against the true enemy, against the true threat. And I see this in terms of what is happening here, that directing and energy and hatred, really it's hateful behavior towards an individual who comes to sort of represent whatever people are upset about, is not only not productive, but is profoundly destructive of our community, of each other, and we have got to find ways. And I hope perhaps IDEA can be a place to bring people together, to have those conversations, because it so profoundly speaks to an absence of relationship. Anyone who's trying to solve political or difficult problems through Facebook, to me, clearly is not sincere in that effort, and that or even on Zoom, and that we have to find ways to be bringing people together. And I hope that Brighton is that place, and I know that Robin will be doing all she can to make that happen as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Panel, good evening. And again, Tori and Charisse Butis, I believe, are the next two. Good evening.
My name is Pamela Kim Adams. I'm a Brighton resident at 50 Model Lane. I grew up in Brighton and raised my daughter here. I have a father and two sisters in Brighton, each with their own families. Growing up here in the 80s, I was bullied and targeted as an Asian girl to the point where I left the school district after 5th grade before returning in high school. Although I've been here nearly all my life, and although Brighton has a reputation for being diverse, I still struggle to feel that I belong in this Brighton community because I'm not white. Robin Wilt is one of the reasons I'm still here in Brighton, even though my daughter graduated last year. Because with Robin on the town board, I feel a sense of solidarity. I know that someone is going to stand up not only for me, but for anyone in Brighton, Rochester, and beyond who is being oppressed, targeted, or harassed. I've known Robin and her family for years through the Brighton Families of Color group, as well as advocacy in the wider community. Robin truly is the definition of a human rights activist. She stands with everyone because she knows what it's like to stand alone, to be undermined and treated differently because she's a Black woman. These past many weeks have been the epitome of that. The public shaming and false accusations that Robin has been subjected to has made my blood boil. It's also made my heart break. Robin has done absolutely nothing wrong. Like always, she has stood with the oppressed, in this case with the Palestinian people. No matter how anyone tries to twist it, this is not about anti-Semitism. It's about justice and basic human rights. I've heard that there are people in our community who want Robin removed from the IDEA board, and this astonishes and worries me. Not only was this board Robin's idea and the resolution to have it passed her proposal, but Robin is one of the strongest voices for diversity and equity in Brighton. Anytime there's a march, a rally, a gathering, a fundraiser to lift up marginalized voices, you know Robin will be there. It doesn't matter what the social justice cause is or which oppressed groups need support, Robin will show up. As an Asian woman in Brighton, I feel safer and more seen singularly because of Robin. I feel better represented and more hopeful about our community. In addition to working on DEI issues in our community, Robin is active in climate work, connected with our youth, and so much more. She has relationships throughout our community and is respected and trusted by residents from all backgrounds, as evident by her recent primary win. Not only should Robin remain on the IDEA board, obviously, but she deserves a public apology for the racist and despicable treatment she has received. Treatment she has received both on and off social media by members of this community. Tonight, Robin needs a Robin, meaning she needs someone to fight for her just like she fights for everyone else. And that is why I am here, along with so many, like 70 of us, in this room, in the overflow room, and in the parking lot. We are here for you, we support you, we thank you, and we love you, Robin. Free Palestine, Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, and I am truly sorry that that was your experience growing up, and I'm glad that you are still here in Brighton. Tori? Good evening, and then Charisse and Brianna Clark will follow.
I'm going to leave my mask on. Let me know if you can't hear me. My name is Tori Madway, and I am a Brighton resident who lives on Dunrobin Lane. I was born and raised here in Brighton, and have always been very enmeshed in our local Jewish community. Temple Sinai, family and friends at all the other major schools in town, Jewish Federation programs, NIFTY, local youth group. This is where I learned to value justice. Brighton is my home, the only one I have, but right now it's not a very welcoming one. Growing up, I was told how wonderful it is that Brighton is so diverse, and in some ways it was. Many of my friends weren't white or had immigrant parents, but it took time outside of the Brighton bubble to realize how much racism I grew up around, especially anti-Blackness. And I want to emphasize that if you can see it if you look at the demographics in Brighton, if you look at the segregation between Brighton and the city, if you look at the segregation in the Brighton schools, if you look at the urban-suburban program, if you look at the way that Black students, especially Black students who don't have any white parents, are pushed out of the honors program, or the ESP, the extended studies programs, and kept away from their white peers and non-Black peers. Sorry, I lost my spot. The racism in Brighton wasn't talked about when I was in school. The last few years have brought a national awakening to the continued systemic and structural racism baked into our society, and I've been glad to see public discussions here in Brighton, led of course by Robin Wilt, the only Black woman I can remember holding a position of power in this town in my memory. She has tirelessly fought to bring issues of racial injustice into public view and continuously stood up for all marginalized people, including my Jewish community. I have found Robin to be genuinely interested in and receptive to community input, willing to learn and do better, and a truly dedicated public servant. These attacks on her character are unfounded and disingenuous, especially the attack that she is anti-Semitic. I'm not ignorant of anti-Semitism, in general or in Brighton. I have two vivid memories of the swastika burnt into the pavement when I was in high school to believe our community a haven from anti-Semitism. But it's clear to me that these accusations against Robin are weaponized attempts to silence her voice and her work. Look around and ask yourself who else is doing the racial justice work and anti-segregation work and community building work that she is. Who else proposed a project like IDEA? Who else has followed through on commitments to listen to long silenced voices of Black and Indigenous and people of color in this community. Even if and why I was naive to the racism around me as a child, it has run strong in our school systems and other places of power. I'm glad to see some majorly problematic elements of my youth are removed, like the denial of continued existence of Indigenous peoples, putting yellowface on middle schoolers for production of Mulan, or cosplaying as escaping slaves on Underground Railroad Day. But we still have a lot more work to do. Silencing the most vocal proponents of equity only moves us backwards along the long arc towards justice. Robin is an undeniable asset to our Brighton community, and I am appalled at what my community, my Jewish community, what has come out of a portion of it. And to anyone who is listening to this, you are committing Lashon Hara, evil tongue, and it is nothing but blasphemous and racially charged attacks against Robin. So I very strongly urge you to keep Robin on the IDEA committee and, in fact, support more people like Robin to run for these roles and be encouraged to step into positions of power in our community, because she is exactly what we need. Thank you.
Next speaker is Charisse. Charisse, it's a little hard to read. Butis, I think. Charisse? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Good evening. And then Brianna Clark and Aisha Kreutz will follow. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Charisse Bufis. This is my daughter, Miriam. We're at 3896 Dewey Ave. I have learned so much sitting here listening in since 7 about the history of Brighton. I'm not officially a Brighton resident, but I truly love how you guys have taken the initiative to relearn history and to acknowledge that and represent it. And that just gave me such a warm feeling, right? I'm like, wow, this is a nice start. Confusing as to how I get here, because I'm like, wow, this just seems like such a beautiful community that's trying to work in the right direction. But then I come because of the attacks on Robin Wilt. And I don't even understand, I come to you as a Black Muslim woman in a community where I am not welcome. I live in the suburbs too, but it's all pretty much the same, right? Everything mirrors each other in the greater Rochester. So, I constantly come into situations, I don't even get to drop my kid off normally and make a driving mistake like other parents do, right? I immediately get reprimanded and screamed at, and I have to tell people like, hey, you can talk to me, like, don't speak to me like that. This is a constant thing every day. It's very draining. You have no idea. But I only mention that because you guys are relearning. You're relearning people's roots, right? So as a Black Muslim, that's one thing that we carry. That's one, we have so many different stereotypes and stigmas to us. And then on the other side, as a Muslim woman, people have this fear, like, oh, she must be dangerous or something. And from the moment I've met Robin, I never got that feeling. She immediately welcomed me into her home. She wanted to talk about my kids. They're not even her constituents, right? And she's helping me learn. She's trying to teach me and give me the ability to, help my child to the best ability. I'm glad to say that after I met Robin, my child's been an honor roll student ever since. By himself, I'm not going crazy. And that's something that I can say with Robin. So I'm just confused as to how someone who, in my opinion, like, I'm listening to the other people before me, I'm telling you, I've learned a lot, okay? And I'm just like,
how is it that this would even come into question? And you have all of these different people from different backgrounds, and mine included. The reason she's able to get so much support, and if people were more open to spread it, I promise you this building would be like wrapped around. Okay, that's the type of love she has in this community. And I just don't understand how this is even something to be entertained. I've watched her work with other children. I've heard her host events where her name is barely even said, just to support someone who may not have been supported any other way, right? Like, this woman is amazing. Like, I hope that you guys know that. This is the only public official that I personally know of who will answer your phone call any time of the day. She's the only person that I know of who will attend 10 events in one day and still catch her flight to go be with her family over the weekend or do whatever it is she has to do, including all the other things she does within her work. Like, she is the most productive woman I've ever met in my life. As a Black person, you have to be 10 times as patient. You have to be 10 times as thoughtful. You have to be 10 times as stronger, smarter, loving. Everything is to the max, just for people to say, you know what? I can look at you as a person, like, you're okay. And all the work that this woman puts in, I just couldn't even fathom. I can't even fathom anyone in this room who was like, you know what? Robin is a freaking anti-Semitic. Like, I don't think that that is possible, that any of you guys thought that or believed any of these things, because I guess I'm gonna wait and see what happens, because I thought I was gonna say something. I'm learning so much. I wanna take it in. This is a beautiful community. And if Robin puts all this energy selflessly to support other children throughout all the communities of Greater Rochester, any person that she could help or assist, I'm really interested to see what happens after this, because maybe if you guys didn't know, maybe you heard something different here today that may change your mind. And I pray the same for the people watching, because this is so silly. She's not of my faith. She's not of Jewish faith. And she has everybody's support. I really hope you see that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and congratulations to your daughter. Very, very good. Good evening. Brianna?
Yes, hi. My name is Brianna. Not only do I live in the city of Rochester, but I live in a Black, dark-skinned femme body. And when you live in a dark, Black femme body, you are often silenced. It's easier to remove you than to hear you. It's easier to remove you than to support you, and that's what's happening here to Robin Wilt. And I stand with her completely against that. What Robin understands that the people who have been attacking her online do not understand is that saying Free Palestine is not inherently anti-Semitic. What Robin understands that the people attacking her online do not understand is that when you liberate Black people, when you liberate the Palestinian people, that liberation trickles upward to everyone else. What the people online attacking Robin do not understand is that we are not free until everyone is free. So, I speak to the board today to help you to understand, as people of privilege, that global liberation is our liberation. And that's what Robin understands, and that's what Robin stands for. And as people here have said to you, she has stood for human rights across the board for every oppressed community throughout her career, and most likely before, because she is a dark-skinned Black woman just like myself. And when you are at the bottom, and your liberation and the liberation of other people like you across the globe, across the diaspora, and the liberation of the Palestinian people, who the tactics of oppression mirror, the tactics of oppression towards Black people are liberated, that liberation trickles upwards, and whatever you are facing will probably disappear. So what I would like to say to the board today is to understand that and to leverage your privilege and stand with Robin against these attacks, because it is unnecessary, it is racist, and we have to understand that freedom, one person's freedom doesn't threaten the others. Everybody's freedom is everybody's freedom. So that's all I have to say. I stand with you, Robin. I'm here with you. I got you. You got me. I love you.
Aisha is our next speaker, and followed by Ashley Gant and Carol Crossett.
Hi, I'll be quick. I know lots of people are here from Robin. I am here to speak about the Planned Parenthood that is proposed to be coming up. But it was great to, kind of fit pretty well because there's all this talk, about racism, all of these things, and Planned Parenthood being the largest killer of blacks in America. I think that as we look about the type of community that we want to be, things like abortion are not a community value. I'm here for her, for her as I'm post-abortive myself. I've had 2 abortions, and I now help women heal from it. There's a lot of things that, any service that Planned Parenthood offers, we have it in other places, but as well with a lot more information of the different options that are out there. And so I just implore the board, especially in light of everything that's happening here today, like I said, it fit pretty well that we really take a look at I've lived in Rochester over half of my life now. This is my first grandbaby, so pretty long time. And we have one Planned Parenthood left. And I'm just going to leave with this. Like I said, I want to be quick because I know that you guys are here for a lot of other things with Robin and stuff. But Planned Parenthood, abortion, has killed the exact population to date, black population, that there was in 1964. So 20 million, that was the full totality of the black population. And we don't look at it that way. So we're talking, and the definition by their own words, everything that they've come out with recently, you can look at, who Margaret Sanger was, that they admit that they were formed on the base of eugenics, and so that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys will really take a look at that, and if that's the type of community value, as you're trying to wipe out racism, do we want to bring in another racist? Founded in racism, it is the very definition of systemic racism is a Planned Parenthood. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley, good evening. And our next 2 speakers are Carol Crossett and Mike Boucher.
Thank you. So my name is Ashley Gant. My zip code is 14604. I'm here to support Robin Wilt, but before I say that, I also want to say that women have autonomy over their own bodies, so build more Planned Parenthood. So I can stand here and tell you what an amazing woman Robin is and how she showed up for this community time and time again and how she's continually showed up in my life over and over again. And I can tell you about how I couldn't make it to my daughter's Christmas concert at school because I was working and Robin stepped in for me. I can tell you about how she stood alongside black, brown, white, yellow, whoever people over and over again. But people have already done that, so I want to talk about what it means to stand up for racial justice when there are no cameras around. I want to say, Bill, I'm your friend on Facebook. I see you on Facebook all the time commenting, posting pictures. It's not enough to come to our parties. It's not enough to come and take pictures with us. When we talk about racial justice and being an ally, it means standing up for the only black woman that is on the town board when people in your district. Over the last 2 months, I'm not a part of Brighton, but I've been in that group, and I've seen the attacks, the slurs, the things that people will say. And because Robin is a black woman, and black women always got to be stoic, black women always got to keep it together, black women always got to be kind and compassionate no matter what. I've seen Robin do that over and over again. Well, I begged her not to. Well, I begged her, why are you trying to serve these people? And I can't understand why, but she's hell-bent on serving this community, a community that does not deserve her and does not appreciate her. And it is ridiculous. I don't live in Brighton, but I'm on that page and I watch you put up statuses, and you're the leader of this town, and it is your responsibility to stand next to the only black woman that is on this board. You come to our events, you take pictures with us, and you say nothing. You know Robin, you know she's not racist, you know she's not anti-Semitic, and you said nothing. Allyship is when you're doing what is hard, when you're doing what is difficult, when you are sacrificing something. And I want to say, you guys haven't sacrificed anything. Nothing. When you have the opportunity to stand up, I've seen you at the protest. Don't come to the Black Lives Matter protest when you can't stand up for your colleagues. Robin has done so much for this community, literally laying down her life, her time, her family, and you guys do not deserve it. Good luck. I hope you get to stay on this idea committee since it's your brainchild, and y'all do not deserve her.
Our next speaker is Carol Crossett, then Mike Boucher, Paul Jason after Michael.
Thank you so much, Bill. First, before I talk about brave Brighton Residents Against Violence, let me just say that I am a personal friend of Robin. We're politically and socially friends, and I admire her greatly. I'm here to speak about two things. First, with Brighton Residents Against Violence, BRAVE. We have been before the town council for one, maybe two times, also the Brighton Planning Board. And we're here to oppose the abortion clinic that is going to be built on Westfall Road. You know, you've heard, this is not sounding very well. Can you all hear me okay?
Maybe if you back up.
I need to back up a little bit. All right. So, you've heard people describe these last 3 or 4 sessions that you've held here at the town. You've heard destruction of a child, you've heard murder of a baby, you've heard pre-infanticide. So I just thought it might be good just to try to reach some universal language, something that we can all agree on. Some of us feel offended by certain words, but with all apologies to my granddaughter's science teacher at Brighton Middle School, I think it's Jennifer Terwilliger. Just to get real basic here, so we can all speak a universal language. An entity that has 23 pairs of chromosomes in a certain configuration is called a human being. Those chromosomes come together and are nurtured. All at once, they become a human being. They don't become a human being after 2 weeks of gestation, as if just some of those chromosomes come into the human being. They all come into the entity at the same time. Unlike a fetus of a cat, these chromosomes are different in number and they're different in structure, which is why it's called a human being. When a human being, or when this entity with this chromosomal structure enters into an abortion clinic, it is alive. When that entity comes out of the abortion clinic, the entity that is a human being is no longer alive. And so I think if we could all just, relax with the language, just agree that we're talking about the killing of a human being. It's not murder. Murder is a legal term and it's legal. Abortion is legal. You may or may not believe it's a person or a child or a baby, but we all know that it's a human being and it's being killed. The second, and I think that you would think less of me if I weren't here before you speaking out against this. Wouldn't you think less of me if I weren't here speaking out about this? If Brighton were building a prison, and if that little quirk in the New York State Constitution that challenges the death penalty, if there were prisoners being executed in that prison in Brighton, I would be there. I would be there protesting. Would you not think less of me if I were not there protesting? Many of us protested the clinic on South Avenue, the Morris Wortman Clinic at 2020 South Avenue, and that was in 1999, and it was when it started to be built until 2002. Brighton Residents Against Violence opposed that, and I'm here with this file. This is what the town is up against. In this file are legal documents, there are petitions, tons of petitions, there are newspaper articles, and there are police reports, which is the one thing that I do want to give you tonight. Bill, is that allowed to hand you something? Can I give you those?
Absolutely, if you would hand them to the town clerk, and they'll become part of the record.
So just to say that these are the police reports for a 5-month period during the initial stages of the construction at 2020 South Avenue, South Clinton, excuse me. These are single-spaced pages for 5 months. There's 55 on each page. Here's one page, another page, another page, and there's a fourth page. There were 199 police calls during the construction of that clinic. These police calls were not warranted. These police calls were called by the doctor, who was extremely paranoid. These were peaceful protesters. These were people who were not violent. There was no criminal activity reported, and you'll see that on these police reports. I am a citizen in Brighton. I've lived here since 1992. And I want to say that I do not want to see this kind of money. How much money does it cost for 199 police calls during a 5-month period? These were police calls on peaceful protesters. These were not violent protesters. These were peaceful people expressing their point of view that a human being who enters that clinic should come out alive. So I have copies for everyone. Thank you so much, Bill.
Mike Boucher is our next speaker, followed by Paul Jason and Amy Shee.
Good evening. My name is Mike Boucher. I'm a Brighton resident. I live at 204 Antlers Drive. I am also a member of the IDEA Board, but I speak tonight not as the IDEA Board, but as myself as a resident. And I'm here because there have been attacks that I have witnessed both online and in person against Robin's character, Robin's ability to serve on the town board, and especially recently calls that she cannot act as liaison for the IDEA Board for some reason. And I'm here because many of you, I have seen, you have been copied in on emails, you've been copied in on social media, you've been contacted about this, and I just want you to hear directly from the community that I give my support to Robin, and I ask you to disregard all of the claims that people are making. Robin is a visionary leader and someone who is needed in this town precisely because she shows up for people, especially people on the margins. And my guess is Robin would even show up for some of the people who are criticizing her were things to be turned against them, period. I'm here because I know Robin personally, outside of her role, and I want to publicly thank her for all that she has done for this community, especially for being a founder of the IDEA Board itself. Hopefully you have heard ample testimony tonight to dismiss the baseless claims that are coming your way, and just let Robin keep exercising her leadership in all aspects here in Brighton. Thank you.
Michael. Paul Jason is next, followed by Amy Shee and Jessica Shanahan.
Hi, good evening. I appreciate your time and consideration. I'm here to speak in opposition to the proposed Planned Parenthood building that they intend to build here in the town of Brighton. One thing that is very disturbing to me is the deception of Planned Parenthood and how they failed to indicate that they were the ones planning to build this new building, how they failed to inform the community of this, used a different name, failed to inform the other doctors' offices in that location. There's other offices there, and they weren't allowed to know who was planning to redo that building. And as my thought, that they probably would oppose such a building there and all of the controversy that surrounds Planned Parenthood. As other speakers may have indicated, what happens in every Planned Parenthood throughout the country. Pro-life people come out to reach out to people and pray, and to ask moms to turn away from abortion, and to seek alternatives, which we offer, to save their child, and to save the mother from being exploited. And this is a very disruptive thing that happens there. And these other businesses in that location are going to be disrupted by Planned Parenthood's clientele. Planned Parenthood has a lot of people that wait outside and linger in the parking lot. As they wait, oftentimes it's a man waiting for the woman inside the Planned Parenthood facility. And they linger outside, smoking, doing other things. And that's not funny to me, because people are in need, people struggle, and then people are also loitering and disrupting that business. And I think that's important to the town board and to the planning board. They have a lot of walk-in clientele. This is not like a dentist's office where people have an appointment. So they have a number of people who continually come through to Planned Parenthood without an appointment. They travel in from the city, they travel in by bus, public transportation, and there's no sidewalk facilities available for that. The sidewalks are very limited in that area. And the West Falls Side Road, it doesn't have any sidewalk as far as I could tell from the plan. And I think these are issues that Planned Parenthood failed to address in the plan that they submitted to the planning board. One of the people speaking at the planning board for Planned Parenthood, indicated that this is a place that they can go when they don't want their parents to know. And I think that's abhorrent, because these are children we're talking about, minor children, who go there for these invasive procedures, who go there for abortions. And we're supposed to believe that all of this is just teenage love. But we see in the news every day about the sex trafficking, about the child pornography, everybody getting arrested for this. How the principal in Hilton brought children into his office at the school during school hours and abused these children. And we're supposed to believe that all these minors that go for abortions at Planned Parenthood are somehow not involved with these crimes. And I think it's a very important issue that needs to be addressed in our community, that we need to safeguard these young people and not just look the other way. When they're coming in, walking in there, and nobody pays attention to that. To these young teenage girls, 12 years old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, go in there for abortions. No parental notification, just like how they do business normally. And they can come in for gender changing treatments as well, no parental notification. That's a big business now, and that's not what they should do. Parents should know what their children are doing and should not have invasive medical procedures done on them without their knowledge. Yes, that's right, abortion.
Please,
And gender assignment is also.
please allow this. Thank you.
It's okay if I'm heckled, I don't mind.
Mr. Jason, please continue to speak, or if you're finished.
So these types of things, I think, are very important issues that need to be dealt with. The planning board, even if they approve of it, I don't think have recognized that there's a number of issues still involved with the site plan. It's very important to residents, as well as any tax breaks given, because everybody else has to bear the burden. The other businesses in that location, the residential taxpayers, all the other businesses have to bear that tax burden. And we all pay these Medicaid taxes. These are huge taxes, and property taxes too. If you look on your property tax bill, the Medicaid is a big portion of that, a very large portion. At the end of the Holocaust, people asked why it happened. And the answer that we've all come to realize is the only thing needed for evil to succeed is for good men to stand by and do nothing. All babies get killed, not just certain ones.
Mr. Jason, please address your remarks to the board.
You have an opportunity to stop a Holocaust in your town. And this is a very serious issue, because I think it's very important for us, each one of us, to individually ask, when does a person's life begin? Where do people come from? Where do children come from? I think we have thousands of years of empirical evidence that prove a person's life begins at conception. That is a scientific fact, and it's indisputable that no person has ever given birth to an animal or anything else. It's always a baby, every single time, and we have the proof of that. And it's absolutely essential that we don't allow these types of evils to continue in our society. We wonder why there's so much violence in our towns and cities.
Mr. Jason, I am going to ask you to wrap up your comments in about 30 seconds, please. Please.
When we devalue life, when we say a person is not a person, that's where we end up being with violence, with murder, with people who throw away life, who simply throw it away and think nothing of it and applaud for it. And I ask you to reconsider what's going on here, to stop Planned Parenthood from coming here, and to stop a new Holocaust from coming to your town. Thank you. God bless you.
Amy Shee. Hello, Amy. After Amy, we have Jessica Shanahan and Donna, I think that says Walker, but I'm not positive.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Shee. I live at 240 Oakdale Drive. I've been a resident of Brighton for about 15 years. I have been on the Town Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Action Board since its inception, which I will say took much too long to start, to get up and running. I feel like it was years before we started. And as others have said, it was the brainchild of Town Council member Robin Wilt and would not be in existence without her. All the work that we have done on the Idea Board with Robin is for the inclusion and equity of all Brighton residents, Black, white, adults, children, Asians, able-bodied, disabled, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. If you read any of the documentation of the work we've done, then you can easily see that. The Idea Board would not exist without Robin, and it will be a charade if it continues without her. So if she is removed from the Idea Board, then I will resign from it because I will know that the town is not serious about making Brighton a more inclusive, diverse, and equitable place. And I know others that will resign as well. Furthermore, the voters of Brighton have spoken in the Democratic primary that we want Robin, and the voters will speak again in November. I mean, who would we rather have? A Republican, or no offense, but another middle-of-the-road white Democrat? No, we want someone who has the experience, the wisdom, and the courage to fight for justice and represent us all. And I know it's election season, but I think that it's shameful that none of you have more vocally spoken in support of Robin. Her goal has always been to fight for equity and justice for those whose voices are silenced, and I sincerely hope that you do not silence her. And I challenge all of you in your work over the years with Brighton, with Robin in the town council, to find any examples of her being anti-Semitic or anti-anyone. She wants justice for all of us. And one more statement, Planned Parenthood is a healthcare facility and should be treated as a healthcare facility. At the last planning board meeting, there were many physicians who both live and work in Brighton who are in support of Planned Parenthood opening. Our facility will be just like any others. There will be the same medical waste, no more, no less. If there's people who are against us, that is not our fault, that is their fault. And I really was appalled by the statement that we Brightonians will be bothered by partners of patients who are getting health care. Like, fine, loiter all you want. Thank you for being supportive of your partner. And the thinly veiled racist and classist statements like, oh, we don't want people taking the bus to have to come to the Planned Parenthood. This is exactly why we need Planned Parenthood in Brighton, and we need Robin in Brighton. Thank you.
Next is Jessica Shanahan, followed by Donna. Again, I think it may say Walker, and then Cecilia Lester.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Jessica Shanahan, and I live at 4 Knollwood Drive in Brighton. I've been a resident of Brighton since 1994. I had worked in Washington, D.C. for 2 Democrats, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan and John LaFalce. My roots are deep to Rochester, New York. I'm not here to talk about being pro-life or pro-choice. I'm here to tell you about why I do not think we should have a Planned Parenthood in Brighton. I also did call in about a month ago, and that was the only time I've ever called in or gotten active with anything in Brighton. And I will also be at every other meeting until there is not a Planned Parenthood. This is really, it's not in Greece anymore because the residents of Greece said no. They don't want the controversy. They don't want the problems. It is not a healthcare facility. They do not do mammograms. There are plenty of healthcare facilities, and Planned Parenthood, 40% of their business is abortion. That's where they make their money. And that is going to not be good for Brighton. When you have people as vocal as we are, there's people out front, there's people on the sidewalk, there's going to be protests. I would think you'd want to run away from something like this. And the last board meeting that I listened to, you were discussing some funds. I think it was a printer or something. You're going to need to be discussing funds to have new police officers, and a lot of other things are going to arise. And I would hope, as you as council members would vote this down and know that I do care about Brighton. I care about inclusion. I care about diversity. I am a Democrat. I care about all these things that are important to all of you. But I do not believe that we should have a Planned Parenthood in our community. Thank you.
Donna Walker, followed by Cecilia Lester and Lauren Deutsch.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I came here this evening with no intention of speaking, and I want to speak on two topics. One is the strength of the conversation that's happening this evening in support of the many diverse and the necessary participation of everyone in government and in positions of authority. And I'm grateful that people are taking the time and supporting people in such a vitally important way. The second piece that and I'm impressed with you people from Brighton. I don't have a lot of, I'm an Irondequoiter, and I don't have a lot of experience in this particular area. However, I am very active in the pro-life movement and in my opposition to Planned Parenthood. And as the woman spoke just before me, I would caution you all, first of all, to recognize the tolerance that it's going to take for people who feel differently about life issues. You all have the right to choose the kind of medical care and supports that you need for yourself and your partners, and that
Can I ask you please to address the board and not members of the audience? Thank you.
My comments are for them because they're participating in this process too, and because this decision is going to affect them also. I am asking for people to consider the fact that every tolerance of another person begins with the respect that each of us has as a human being, and how we have to put up with differences in people and differences in the way they choose to express themselves. And that is being exhibited this evening very properly in this room. I also want to support the fact that if you go ahead with this Planned Parenthood, it will result in activity that is not beneficial for your residents. We are currently downtown at the University Avenue place, and the residents there are very upset. Do you know there is a sign? Thank you, thank you, thank you. There is a sign up now in front of Planned Parenthood at University Avenue that says, $200 fine if you honk. $200 fine if you honk. Because what people respond, this is an issue that's going to present people, get them excited, get them involved. And who wants this kind of controversy? So I highly recommend that you seriously consider what you are taking on. It is primarily for the purpose, Planned Parenthood is for the purpose of abortion. It's not a healthcare clinic. So I applaud, again, I thank you for your time, and I thank you, and I do hope and pray, because otherwise you are going to see a lot of people coming into your town that you are not going to want to have. Meaning people who
Please address your comments to the board.
people who are taking a position.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Ms. Walker, thank you. Our next speaker is Cecilia Lester. She will be followed by Lauren Deutsch and Candace Baker Light.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Lester. First of all, I wanted to say I don't envy the job that you have here. And Robin, I met you a couple years ago. I don't know if you remember at Carol's house, and I just wanted to say we had a beautiful, open conversation in which we didn't agree on everything, but I remember that. I respect you for that, and I'm unfamiliar with what's going on aside from what I'm here to talk about, but I just wanted to say that I found you to be very warm and easy to talk to, and yeah, I agree. I do like Robin. I'm sure I don't agree with everything that she believes, and clearly I don't, because that's one thing I have to say here. And before I have some prepared remarks, but before that, I just wanted to say, I was watching some of the other speakers talk here, and the whole purpose of them coming here is to applaud your inclusion and your kindness, and yet the reaction to people speaking has been very unkind. I've watched people laugh, I've watched people sneer, I've watched people, roll their eyes and make noises, and that just seems completely contrary to why you're here. I would like to point to the beautiful line that I think it was Brianna said. She said, "No one is free until everyone is free." And I just wanted to point out that was Fannie Lou Hamer, and Fannie Lou Hamer was a civil rights activist. I'm sure you all know her, and she was pro-life. So anyway, I wanted to draw the board's attention. I printed out a couple copies. Here, I'll just. I wanted to draw the board's attention to Article 1, Section 202-2 of the town's Comprehensive Development Plan. In this section, the town of Brighton makes it clear that it is invested in regulating the opening and operation of adult-use businesses so as to preserve the character and the quality of life in the town of Brighton's neighborhoods and business areas. To this end, this section further stipulates that the town will attempt to control such documented harmful and adverse secondary effects, such as the attraction of transients, parking and traffic problems, and loss of business for surrounding businesses. Although Planned Parenthood does not fall under the rubric of an adult use business and would not be regulated as such, the legislative intent of this section demonstrates that the town is committed to the importance of minimizing these types of adverse effects by certain businesses in our community more generally. It has elsewhere been argued successfully that Planned Parenthood's presence may contribute to parking and traffic problems and additional police calls, as well as loss of business for surrounding businesses. Today, I would like to focus on preserving the character and quality of Brighton, particularly regarding efforts to minimize the attraction of a certain deplorable type of transient, the sex trafficker. And I'm sure that this was what the previous speaker was trying to get across before she was interrupted. It is well documented that the majority of women victimized by trafficking in the United States had contact with the medical profession by attending healthcare clinics. Healthcare professionals, therefore, play a vital role in identifying and notifying authorities of abuse and liberating victims of sex trafficking. Unfortunately, while Planned Parenthood comes into contact with a volume of victims and perpetrators of sex trafficking second only to emergency departments, they have a well-documented history of turning a blind eye to this atrocity perpetuated against women and children. In trying to understand this phenomenon, a study out of Loyola University of Chicago's Beasley Institute found that traffickers often cited that they preferentially chose Planned Parenthood, quote, because they didn't ask any questions. This unconscionable conduct is the subject of current litigation in the United States and is further documented in numerous undercover investigations, as well as in the testimony of Planned Parenthood employees themselves. In short, Planned Parenthood aids and abets sex traffickers and rapists. I can think of no other healthcare facility that is plagued by these accusations. Here are 3 quotes from Planned Parenthood employees. "So many things would happen in that counseling room that really bothered me. There'd be girls coming in with their abusers. Against all protocol, the abuser would be let into the counseling room. That was where they were supposed to be separated from whom they were with, and men were never allowed back there. But with these young girls, they'd be allowed back there, even if they knew. Even if I went to the manager and I said, look, there's something going on here, she would say, she's better off for the abortion. We can't do anything about what's going on at home, but at least we can give her the abortion." This is former Planned Parenthood employee Catherine Adair. Second quote, "We were all required to be mandatory reporters, but if we saw a case, questionable abuse, or even for sure, I mean, this kid is being abused, we really were discouraged from calling it in just because they didn't want to have the trouble. The angry parent, the angry boyfriend, whatever it was. So more than once I was told, no, that's not reportable, you don't need to call that in." This is from Sue Thayer, former Planned Parenthood manager of Storm Lake, Iowa. And lastly, I raised my hand as I said, I'm confused. When are we going to actually begin the retraining? What can I do as a manager to take this information back to my staff and enforce policies and procedures that would help protect women who are experiencing either sex trafficking or sexual abuse in any way? The trainer immediately shot me down and said, "We're not here to talk about that, Ramona. We're here to teach you how to identify if you're being videotaped or recorded or entrapped in any way." That's from Ramona Trevino, former Planned Parenthood manager of Sherman, Texas. This was after Planned Parenthood was caught aiding human traffickers and then pledged to retrain thousands of workers to report abuse and trafficking. This is true. This is their statements. And lastly, I would just say, you know, I think that a lot of this discussion is framed by stereotypes that we have of other people. And you all have an idea of me because I don't agree with abortion. But that doesn't mean that I don't support women. That doesn't mean I judge women who have had abortions. I love women who have had abortions. My sister-in-law was actually taken to a Planned Parenthood at 15, and she had been raped, and she had an abortion, and no one did anything about the fact that she had been raped. So I'm here from a place of concern. I'm concerned about people. I believe you are all here of goodwill, and I have no ill intentions towards any of you. If I met you on the street, I would have only a smile on my face to greet you, and if I see you outside and you want to have a conversation with me, I would be more than willing to do that.
Please, please. Thank you. Dan, did you receive some? Okay, thank you. Lauren Deutsch is our next speaker, and followed by Candace Baker-Light and Remy Dobbs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So tonight, I don't have any prepared remarks. I actually didn't know this was happening, and then I got a text saying that this was going on, and it was an opportunity to make our voices heard. So what I'm going to say right now is a little raw, but what I want to say is that we have been having a dialogue in this community about racism and anti-Semitism, and it has, I'm sorry? I thought someone had a question.
Please allow her to speak.
Hi. And it has not been the right dialogue. It has been full of name-calling, it has been anger and upset, and while there is a place for those feelings, it has not been a productive place. It has not been a productive discussion. Some of the things said here tonight were untrue. For example, that my group, Brighton Stands Against Anti-Semitism, were in any way involved with a petition to have Councilmember Wilt removed from the Diversity Committee. That's not true. We had no knowledge of this until after it happened. I don't even know if any of us signed it. I think that we have become so polarized, and we're all hurt, and we're all concerned, and we are retreating to our corners and not hearing each other. So I want to first of all thank Councilmember Wilt, who did talk to me, who came to our virtual town hall as the rest of the town council members did. And I want to say we need to talk more. We need to listen to each other. We need to hear each other's experience and find a way to live together. I'm aware that some of the folks who came out tonight are not Brighton residents. Of course, their feedback is valuable. But at the end of the day, those of us who live next door to each other have to find a way to talk to each other. I'm sure you can hear the tears in my voice. I've lived in this community for about 10 years. I've experienced anti-Jewish racism that was physically violent, that was destruction of property. I've experienced anti-Jewish racism that was subtle, that was ideological. I don't think, and I'll say one of the things that both sides have agreed on and stated vehemently is that there's no place for anti-Semitism and Palestinian rights are human rights. We have agreement on those two things, and that's an incredible place to start. But we're clearly not there yet, because the conversations that we're having, the things that we're saying, are about each other and not to each other. And when they are to each other, they're angry and they're hurtful. I know I'm not the only one in this room who has felt anger and pain and stress and concern and expressed fear about living in this community as a result of what has unfolded. To everyone who has experienced that, I'm sorry that that's what you're experiencing. I wish this wasn't the case. And I want to find a way where I can share my truth and be who I am, and you can share your truth and be who you are, and we can find a way to do that together without hate or angry words. So I know we have really different perspectives, and they're rooted in painful personal histories that are informed by discrimination, racism, bias, struggle, and violence. And it's really hard to talk past that, but we have to find a way to do it. Thank you for taking the time to listen.
Thank you. Candace Baker-Light is next, followed by Remy Dobbs and Iman Abid-Thompson.
Like Ahava, I didn't know that this was going to be a topic for today. I wasn't at the beginning of the meeting, so I don't know if there has been an acknowledgement of where we are in the town of Brighton. I don't know if any of us here today are Indigenous, but we are on Haudenosaunee land. We are all here because there were peace councils between all of the members of the Iroquois Confederation who realized that their resources over time were being wasted in conflict. Our debt to these Indigenous people who remain in New York includes the ability of women to participate in government and governance by consensus. The roads that we travel on today are their legacy. We can be on Monroe Avenue, or we can be on Easton Avenue, which goes past the Council Rock, or going up 590 to the lake. These are all things that have been passed on to us as a result of the peace process that occurred over centuries, and we owe our lives to this legacy. Brighton deserves representation that celebrates rather than erases the many cultures and faiths that coexist in this space. We in Brighton need government officials who recognize our common humanity. I have been very disappointed that complex issues of international relations are now being debated with glib slogans. Seeing a post on a Palestinian Day of Rage when Hamas was still shelling the regions with rockets, killing both Israelis and Palestinians, was deeply hurtful to me, Robin. I am very sorry. I have supported you throughout the time that I've lived in Brighton. You are my neighbor, you have been my friend, and I am sorry, but I cannot support something that could hurt my family, my friends. I strongly believe in Palestinian rights. You can laugh at me, but my son knows Hebrew, he is learning Arabic, he is living in the region. This is deeply personal to me, and I cannot support someone who would support rage when I believe that peace is necessary.
Thank you, Candace. Our next speaker is Remy Dobbs, followed by Iman Abid-Thompson and Zaria Black. Is Remy here?
I was going to speak on a different topic originally, but I'm just going to get that in real quick. As the great-grandchild of a man who narrowly avoided a train to Dachau, and as the grandchild of a woman who left French Algeria because she was sick of what the disease of settlerism had done to her community, I speak on no uncertain terms that in support of Robin Wilt. It is not a shameful thing to fight for the oppressed on behalf of the oppressed. It is, in fact, a fight for our own humanity. And that is an amazing thing. But I also need to speak on no uncertain terms in support of Planned Parenthood. Earlier on, a woman referred to Planned Parenthood as an eugenicist project. And eugenics is the state control of people's reproductive abilities. That is a program that has successfully been manifested in Ohio and in Pennsylvania, which makes us a beacon, which makes us a haven for reproductive rights. And let's be also very clear here. Rich people will always be able to get an abortion. They can go to Canada. They can go to the Cayman Islands or Europe. It's poor people who will be forced to get unsafe abortions. And what you should get rid of is Compass Care, which is a CPC, a crisis pregnancy center. What they do is take the people who come here from Ohio, from Pennsylvania, from the Rochester area, sometimes by a bus. Horrifying. And they convince that person, they lie to them about the state of their child or their fetus. They exist to convince this person not to get an abortion. And there are multiple ones here in the Rochester area. They are here precisely because we are a haven for reproductive rights, in order to erode that. Free Palestine, Black Lives Matter, abortion on demand. Have a good one.
Imana B. Thompson next, and then followed by Doria Black and Matthew Ragusa.
I just want to begin by saying that when you create the table, inviting people to speak on, you don't feed them the scraps. You invite them to a whole table. You don't invite them to the table after you create a letter campaign condemning the only Black woman sitting on this board. You don't invite people to the table when you vilify Palestinians and interchangeably use the word Hamas to describe Palestinians. I came into your town as an unapologetic Palestinian today, despite the racist behaviors I have seen from Brighton constituents. I have seen how some of you have been silent. I have seen how some of you have been complacent. And I have seen how some of you have actually only perpetuated the hate and the racism against Robin Wilt. This certain behavior is absolutely, I'm absolutely appalled by this behavior. Some of you have stepped foot into the mosque that I pray on Westfall Road. And by the way, I do welcome Planned Parenthood as our neighbor in the place that I worship. So while I'm not a resident of Brighton, I grew up attending the Islamic Center of Rochester all my life. That is my mosque. And so very often I thought that I was just some honorary resident. But what I knew growing up and what my family knew is that as Palestinians, we were not welcome in this town. Perhaps as Muslims, but not as Palestinians. And I refuse to engage in this being a Jewish-Muslim issue when it's about the humanity of Palestinians. It is about my humanity. It is about Robin's humanity. Robin, you have taught me what courage actually is. You do not deserve this racist behavior. Supervisor Maley and every other Brown Town Board representative here owe you an apology for what they have allowed. I stand with you. My family stands with you. And if I had not actually discouraged them from attending today, because out of the fear of that there would be backlash for being a Palestinian and entering this space, I would have had them right here with me, standing in support of you. So in their own homes today, they stand with you forever and always. I will not be silenced as a Palestinian. I will not. You will not vilify me as a Palestinian. Racism, anti-Semitism, and xenophobia are not welcome in the fight for liberation for Palestinians. I hope all of you who came out today heard that, because I will not have to repeat myself. Anti-Semitism has never been and it will never be welcome in the fight for liberation for Palestinians. And I hope that all of you join me in standing against the racism towards Palestinians, the racism against Robin Wilt, the anti-Black racism that continues to be perpetuated in the town of Brighton. I hope all of you who say that you are in this fight for justice, speak up for that. I have done nothing but show up for this community and show up for all of you in so many ways. But today I am here specifically for Robin, courageously standing up for the woman who has stood up for us. And we owe her an apology, and I accept nothing short of that.
Next speaker is Zaria Black, followed by Matthew Ragusa and Elora Kang. And right now, Elora Kang is the last person who has signed up to speak.
So I just want to say it's Zaria Black.
My apologies.
And I just want to say I recently moved here from Buffalo, and I don't know what I was walking into, but I can clearly see from being here within only a month that there is a clear divide and things do need to change. And one of the reasons that I did move was very similar situation to what you're going through right now. So I really am proud of you, and I support you in any way that I can, girl. Like, honestly. And as far as the abortion thing go, I am one of those people that did have a very unhealthy abortion, and I do believe that everybody has the right to their body. It's like just common sense. And I just want to give love. That's it.
Thank you. Matt Ragusa? There you are, Matt.
Matt Ragusa, longtime Brighton resident, live over in Virginia Colony area. Sure. I live over in the
Take off your mask, Matt, if you'd like. There
Thank
you.
you. I'm not good in front of crowds. I came here initially to support Robin Wilt and ask that she remain in the position that she's in as the liaison to the IDEA committee. However, in addition to that, I felt compelled to speak in support of Planned Parenthood as a man whose life was likely saved by Planned Parenthood, as being a healthcare facility who was able to provide services at a time when I was in crisis. It is not what people describe it as. It is not all those ugly things. It is a vital part of our healthcare system. It provides services to men, women, trans folks, non-binary, everybody. And it is something that must be welcome in our community, and it is a Brighton value. But yes, I support you, Robin, unequivocally. Thank you.
My name's Elora, and with all due respect, I am probably the same age as your daughters, if you have daughters. So I just want to say that I'm from New York City. My mother is a doctor, my brother is a doctor, and my sister is a doctor. So I have 3 doctors. And they all told me when they found out I was pregnant at a young age to go to Planned Parenthood. And they've worked at Mount Sinai, one teaches at Columbia, and they all told me to go to Planned Parenthood. And I have been successful. I've been published in the New York Times, and the only reason why I am as powerful and strong is because I made that decision to go to Planned Parenthood. They saved my life, and to this day, I still talk to my doctor. I've never received such care, and that's coming from a person that has multiple doctors in her immediate family. Thank you.
Thank you. You have another speaker? Okay. Just a moment, everybody. That'll give our ASL interpreter a moment to.
I was not prepared to speak today, but...
Because I don't have you on a sign up,
Sure.
if you don't mind just
Oh, yes,
your
my name is Emma. My last name is Lee. I live in the city of Rochester, rather close to Brighton. And I recently moved here. And I have to say that, man, there are a lot of amazing people around here. Robin is certainly one of them. She is one of the most compassionate, wise, intelligent, knowledgeable people that I have ever met in my entire life. And I have no doubt in my mind that if anyone ever felt the slightest bit offended by something that she said or did, that she would welcome them into a conversation, because that's the kind of person that Robin is. And I find it absolutely disgusting that people have chosen to attack her in such a vicious, racist, oppressive way, rather than having a conversation with her to maybe learn a little bit more about why she has said what she has said, and the human rights issue that she is speaking on is just so clear to so many of us. And I understand that maybe not everyone has the same information. But the communication did not need to happen this way in any way, shape, or form. Robin is someone who will always stand up for oppressed people. And if someone is feeling oppressed, I'm sure that she would hear them. There is no reason that any of this is happening. This is absolutely absurd. And I just wanted to come here and say, for the record, that I support Robin Wilt 100%. She is a phenomenal human being and an incredible leader.
Thank you. Is there any? No, we're in a meeting. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Bill, I would like to say
Sure,
something.
absolutely.
So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight to express what's on your hearts. As the person at the center of this issue, I wanted to make a statement. I'm somebody who grew up in this region. I trace my roots back to Pittsford, and when given the opportunity to live anywhere in the world, I chose Brighton as my home. As my boys approached young adulthood, in an effort to prepare them for how they would be perceived as Black men in our society, I had them all watch an episode of the ABC News series called What Would You Do? The episode featured a racial profiling experiment conducted in a park. In broad daylight, 3 people openly attempted to remove a locked bike from the premises. First, a white male teenager, then a Black male teenager, and finally, a young white woman tries her luck. In the experiment, the young white man openly attempted to remove the bike for over an hour before any one of the approximately 100 passersby intervened to confront him or call the police. Over 100 people for over an hour watched the white gentleman. And asked why they failed to intervene, 2 passersby said that they assumed that the young white man was probably not up to anything nefarious. Now, in the case of the young white woman, people in the vicinity actually stopped what they were doing and aided and abetted in her removal of the bike, even after she admitted that the bike did not belong to her. But as one might guess, the Black man, he was immediately and aggressively accosted by several park patrons. And the police were immediately called to arrest him. People were so intent on policing and his perceived wrongdoing that the experiment had to be reset multiple times. That's how quickly people moved in to condemn this man. That experiment was a telling metaphor for the racial hierarchy to which we routinely and often unconsciously subscribe in our country. In all things, but especially when it comes to giving someone the benefit of the doubt that they were well-intentioned in their actions, we're more likely to assume the worst of Black people. So fast forward to my post on Facebook of May 18th, which occurred in the context of the escalation of hostilities in Gaza. The post featured a photo of me with Linda Sarsour, a world-renowned Palestinian human rights activist, and also a fellow Bernie Sanders surrogate. And it encompassed a mere 17 words. Those who know her know what this post means. It's day 8 of the conflict, #FreePalestine. Now, at the time, I didn't think that the post was particularly remarkable. I've organized for peace and human rights for over the past 2 decades. All of the related solidarity and peace rallies organized locally were using the same hashtag. #FreePalestine was one of the top 10 topics trending on Twitter. So millions of people were using that prompt. Now, in the immediate aftermath of the post, literally not a single individual who ended up attacking me reached out to inquire about its meaning. Instead, people publicly reposted from my page and misrepresented what was said and placed it in the context of a Board of Education election in which I had no hand in scheduling. And so without any basis, there were instant accusations that I was a quote-unquote Jew hater, that I support Hamas, that I support Louis Farrakhan, that I wanted Israel eliminated, and on and on and on. I was utterly taken aback by not only the rush to judgment that ensued in the form of quote-unquote open letters from people who never bothered to reach out to me, but also the resulting threats to my family, my friends, and myself. I was told that we're not welcome in Brighton, that if I show my face at certain events, I would be harassed. Of all things, someone came onto our property and threw a dead fish into our yard. It was truly shocking. And it was exactly the type of assuming the worst of Black people that was reflected in that "What Would You Do" episode. Never was I given the benefit of the doubt. But people just ran with not only what rumors they heard, but the most vile and damning of those rumors. I think it's important to note that I never mentioned Judaism in my posts. I never mentioned Israel. I never mentioned Hamas. All of those words and interpretations were projected onto my 17-word post by others. The reason I mentioned neither Israel nor Hamas is because my focus is on Palestinian human rights and being in solidarity with the movement for Palestinian human rights. Neither Israel nor Hamas is leading in that charge. The language of the movement for Palestinian human rights is appropriately determined by those at the heart of the movement, not by those powers that are outside of the movement. By the same example, the movement in defense of Black lives uses all sorts of chants and slogans that may not be appealing and may even be deemed offensive to those who are not directly impacted and or not in true allyship with that movement. However, it is not for those who are outside of the movement to determine the language of liberation for a movement. People are opposed to the BLM slogan. People are opposed to Colin Kaepernick kneeling. People are opposed to fists being raised in the air. People are opposed to saying defund the police. And Martin Luther King had a 75% disapproval rating in the height of the civil rights movement in the 60s. Instead of focusing on the plight of those seeking human rights, those who are opposed or merely seeking to uphold the unjust status quo will instead seek to critique and police the language of the oppressed and those who stand in solidarity with the oppressed group. As an activist, I understand that some may have misconstrued the language used. So I issued the following statement very soon after the concern about my initial comments were shared. I said, and I quote, "I would like to remind everyone that human rights are not a zero-sum game. We can stand up for human rights for an oppressed group, and that does not mean that we don't deeply respect and desire human rights for everyone." There's nothing to reconcile the notion that affirming the human rights of one group somehow detracts from or disavows the human rights of another is precisely what keeps us divided and unable to treat one another humanely. Please stop equating love of the marginalized with hatred of the predominant group. That's not how radical inclusion works. Peace and love to all. So that was the post. I also posted a statement from Trua, condemning a spike in anti-Semitic attacks, including one on Jewish diners in LA, on Jewish individuals in Brooklyn, on a Jewish driver in London, and the vandalization of synagogues in Illinois, Utah, Arizona, and elsewhere. And I posted this statement: Israel, like every other sovereign state, can and should be criticized when it doesn't live up to its human rights obligations, including towards its own citizens and residents, whether Jewish, Palestinian, or members of any other group, as well as those living under occupation. But it is anti-Semitic to equate Jews or Jewish institutions with the state of Israel, or to take out anger about Israel's actions towards Jews or Jewish institution. Like Trua, I strongly adhere to the Jerusalem Declaration on Anti-Semitism, which clearly differentiates between criticism of Israel, including harsh criticism and language that one might reject, and anti-Semitism. That being said, I've heard the concerns expressed, and I have done my best to articulate my intent, while at the same time acknowledging that there is negative impact for those who associate the #FreePalestine term with a history of anti-Israeli sentiment. And for that impact, I'm sorry. While that post may have been considered hurtful to some, I have nonetheless always dedicated myself and worked tirelessly for the freedoms and human rights of all people. I've been a member of the town board for 3.5 years, and in that time, I created the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. It is precisely because I am willing to speak up for human rights for the marginalized in the face of intense pressure from those who would maintain an unjust status quo that I am perfectly suited to serve as the liaison to the IDEA Board. In addition to that, I supported a local law that prohibits housing discrimination based on source of income. I put forth a local law that requires disciplinary actions within the town, within the Brighton Police Department to be approved by the town board as opposed to third-party arbiters. I coordinated feedback from the State Department of Transportation with regard to improving plans for traffic routing bike lanes. I coordinated with stakeholders to develop a letter in support of carbon pricing at the federal level, and investment in infrastructure to ensure immediate and equitable action to address the climate crisis. I put forth a local law that requires contractors to have renovations, repair, or painting RRP lead certification when applying for certain building permits, where lead may be disturbed, which was recognized with an award at the annual meeting of the Coalition to Prevent Lead Poisoning. I coordinated with stakeholders in the community to establish a complete count committee within the town of Brighton to increase participation in the 2020 census. I collaborated with the director of the Native American Cultural Center to develop a territorial acknowledgement to recognize the historical and ongoing contributions of Native Americans to stewardship of the land encompassed by the town of Brighton. I coordinated with stakeholders to develop a letter in support of legislative action implementing green amendment within New York State, which would guarantee all New Yorkers fundamental rights to clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment. And I ensured the accessibility for all religious observance of our semi-annual recycling programs by ensuring that the events would be offered on alternating weekend days. And I committed $1,000 of my own funds to make that happen. While my detractors would have you believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words, I say my actions speak louder than words, and my work on behalf of Brighton proves more than any one photo or hashtag can undo. We live in volatile and uncertain times when emotions are undoubtedly running high. People in the Middle East have all been deeply affected by the events of the past few months and millennia. I urge all of you to reach out to one another, as I'm doing now, and have consistently done and will continue to do, in peace. I hope that in the future there will no longer be a need for hashtags to ask for us to recognize one another's humanity. That's all.
Thank you. We're going to, for the benefit of our interpreters, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back working on the rest of the agenda at 9:15. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Okay, now we are resuming the town board meeting of July 14th. Again, I want to thank everybody that was here tonight to speak in our open forum. I do apologize because we got a call and I missed his call in your important words. So I will just, the question was asked, is the town responsible for maintaining the new portions of Auburn Trail? And that's something that the Commissioner of Public Works and the town attorney and I have had some conversations about. The town has not yet taken title to the trail. I expect we will very soon. There are some very minor elements of the project that remain to be completed, and when that happens, the town will be maintaining the trail surface itself. It will be maintaining an apron a couple feet wide past the trail. But areas, that have not been maintained and mowed in the past are not going to be, maintained now simply because there's a trail. Areas that are farther away from the trail than that will continue to grow. That's been how things have been done on our other trails. Frankly, it allows for animal habitat for some of the wildflowers that grow. So, but yes, once we take title to that very exciting new Auburn Trail, the town will begin mowing that apron. So thank you for that question. And now we will continue with our agenda for tonight. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved, Bill.
Second.
Oh, got your initials wrong there. There we go. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We have no public hearings tonight, no bids to award. We have communications. Can I have a motion to receive and file these communications as well as the materials that were submitted during the open forum?
So moved.
Second.
Let me describe at least the four that are listed here, and I think the speakers in general terms describe the other ones. The first item lists various special franchise valuations for purposes of real property taxation. These are basically utility properties within the town, by far the largest item being properties owned by Rochester Gas and Electric, and those utility properties total a sum of somewhat over $52,871,000. The second letter is a communication from Jim Pond, the director of the Department of Transportation for Monroe County, responding to a letter that we received at our last meeting, I believe, from Mr. Tom Greiner, discussing some traffic and pedestrian issues near the Blossom Road bus stop, which is almost, but not quite, exactly on the Brighton city-town line. It is just into the city. And Mr. Pond attempted to address some of the issues that were raised by Mr. Greiner, indicated that the State Department of Transportation will be doing work in that area in 2022, that RTS in the city of Rochester had some jurisdiction over those areas, and the city's traffic engineer would coordinate responses to the issues Mr. Greiner raised. We also have communication from Charles DeWeese, Assistant Commissioner to the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee, recognizing the award to the Brighton Police Department of $5,250 to participate in the Governor's Highway Safety Program. And finally, communication from the county executive, Adam Bello, dated July 7th, advising various officials and the community at large that the state of emergency in Monroe County would be expiring. The state of emergency obviously generated by the COVID pandemic. At about the same time, the governor's executive order declaring a state of emergency expired, as did the town's state of emergency. Each of those under New York law was renewed during the pandemic for successive 30-day periods. But each of them have now expired. However, I really think it's important to remember that the pandemic has not ended. And in fact, saw statistics today that indicated that infection rates have doubled in the last 3 weeks. And in some areas, they have gone up even more than that. So we're not out of the woods yet. We are continuing to try to strike that balance between safety, and particularly here in Town Hall, the safety of our employees, with the obviously legitimate desire of all of us to restore our lives back to normal as much as possible. I really appreciated everybody here tonight keeping their masks on. That's been our policy for visitors in the building. And we're not done with this. Please, if you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, talk to your doctor, other healthcare provider. We heard a lot about healthcare providers tonight. Healthcare providers come in many different and important forms. Many different people who are professionals in healthcare can provide good advice on why getting vaccinated is important. So I hope folks will listen to them. We have very, very high vaccination numbers, at least in the 14618 zip code, which really is almost entirely within Brighton. But we're not out of the woods. So keep all of us doing what we can to stay safe, to keep our families safe, to keep our fellow workers safe. And so that's what I have in terms of communications. In addition to the ones that Dan received, we have a motion and second. Any comments anybody else has on any of those items of communication? Then, Dan, if you would please call the roll on the motion to receive and file those.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Committee reports. Robin, Community Services.
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening time frame since the last town board meeting, but I do have some updates from our Parks and Recreation Department heads. From our Recreation Department, summer program registration is ongoing. Spaces are filled on a first-come, first-served basis. So check the website, your email, and the Recreation Department Facebook page to stay up to date with all of our latest happenings. We'd really love to have you join us this summer. And the Brighton Farmers Market is ongoing. The season opened on May 9th and will extend through November 21st. It is on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Brighton High School parking lot, 1150 Winton Road. We continue to prioritize the health and safety of our vendors and customers. As Bill said, our infection rates are doubling, so masks are required if you're unvaccinated, voluntary, but encouraged for everyone, regardless of vaccine status. The Brighton Town Hall pool is officially opened. It is located right here at Town Hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue, behind the Town Hall and Library. It's open from Monday through Sunday, 12:30 p.m. till 6 p.m. It will be closed this Sunday, the 18th of July. and hours and days are subject to change based on staff availability, so do check out the website. It is available for open swim only. Brighton residents, there is a fee of $3 per person, and for non-residents, there is a fee of $6 per person. Our summer concert series is ongoing. It began on July 6th, will extend through August 10th. It is from 6:30 to 8 in the evening at the Buckland Park Pavilion, 1341 West Fall Road. The summer concert series will be a 6-week-long sessions of concerts, and the full schedule and details for the concert series may be found online at https://www.townofbrighton.org/388/summer-concert-series. If you need anything from our recreation department, if you have a question, looking for lodge availability, or need something else, don't hesitate to give the rec department a call at 585-784-5260, extension 0, and one of our delightful staff would be happy to help you. An update from our Parks Department. The town has increased the lodge capacity to maximum occupancy, so that represents 90 people indoors at both lodges. We are, however, still encouraging masking at all indoor town facilities, regardless of vaccination status. Our July 4th celebration went off smoothly. We limited many of the regular activities, including the food vendors, in order to provide a safe environment for all. But we had a very impressive crowd considering the scaled back event, and I think all stakeholders feel that the community had a positive response to the town's efforts to provide an event despite ever-changing regulations and all of the other challenges presented. So thank you to everybody who attended and for all the vendors who participated. The parks continue to see high volume of rentals and general use, and staff have been busy balancing ongoing maintenance operations while identifying new tasks and challenges on a daily basis. This time of year, our park staff are beginning to switch gears to focus more on maintenance of our large trail system. We still have we will have more dedicated effort on Phase 2 trails at Meridian Center Park. Park staff will also be installing over 300 cubic yards, that's 3 tractor trailer loads of new playground surfacing on various town playgrounds to keep potential fall zones within the National Playground Safety Institute guidelines. As in all of our departments, in our Parks Department, the 2022 budget preparation is underway. As always, our staff are taking a close look at the department budget to carefully plan for current and future maintenance needs for our ever-expanding park and trail system. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be next Wednesday, July 21st at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center multi-purpose room. As always, members of the public are invited to attend. We will be masking and adhering to occupancy standards. So if you do have an interest in attending, we ask that you contact our recreation department at 585-784-5260, extension 0, to let us know you will be joining us so that we can safely accommodate all attendees. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Jason, Finance.
Yes, Bill, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, July 7th. Each of the items that were on our agenda at the committee appear on tonight's town board agenda and will be voted on and discussed. Of note, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee reviewed the proposals submitted for fire protection services for the West Brighton Fire Protection District in accordance with the dissolution referendum from 2012. 4 submittals were received and reviewed. First from the Henrietta Fire District, also from the Gates Fire District, from the City of Rochester Fire Department, and from the Brighton Fire District. The advantages and disadvantages of each of the proposals, namely the Henrietta and the Gates submissions, were discussed in detail. and the direction provided by the FASC to the town attorney was to reach out to the Henrietta Fire District to discuss next steps. And I do see that a proposed dissolution plan appears later on tonight's agenda and will be discussed in further detail. Our next meeting will take place on Wednesday, July 21st. We meet at 8:30 in the morning. We will be in the Town Hall main auditorium. The public is invited to attend. We do ask so that we can follow protocols, that attendees wishing to attend do contact the Town Hall in advance so appropriate accommodations can be made. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. Christine, Public Safety?
Public safety met yesterday morning, and it seems like it was a long time ago already. We had a very full agenda. Brighton Ambulance provided their update. They responded to a total of 588 requests for service throughout the month of June, with a total of 452 being within the Brighton Ambulance District. A total of 106 requests for mutual aid were received for surrounding ambulance districts. The total Brighton volunteer ambulance requests for service up to June 30th is 3,280. That's an increase of 15% over 2020 and likely reflects just more activity in the community as we are all emerging from COVID restrictions and staying home. Good news from the Brighton Volunteer Ambulance. Captain Jevan Tomashko has been promoted to the rank of Chief of Operations effective July 1st, and Interim Chief Tucker Kostich has been promoted to the position of Deputy Chief of Operations and Clinical Care, also effective the 1st of this month. The Brighton Fire Department reports that approximately 1,026 calls have been made year to date, up from approximately 936 this time last year, again, likely accounting for emergence from COVID restrictions. There were 2 working fires of significance since the last meeting, one at 80 Edgemore Road on June 23rd and one at 15 Kirk Drive on June 30th. Brighton DPW won't take too much wind out of Chris's sails, but Brighton DPW reports that it is paving season, if you haven't noticed already. Dale Road and Colonial Village are next on the schedule. Currently, Edgewood Avenue, which is a county road, is undergoing milling, and paving will be completed by the 23rd of this month, weather permitting. Clover Street, Clover Street South will be micro-paved in combination with Monroe Avenue improvements for paving and stripping at that intersection. I don't recall if there was a date, anticipated date or not, but that's coming up soon. And last, the regular reminder about lawn debris. The DPW teams are picking up small piles and containers with greater efficiency than if people leave it in loose piles at their curb. And as always, keep the containers and the loose debris on the tree lawn, not in the street. Brighton Police echo the good report about the July 4th event. Everything went very well. Approximately 20 to 25 minutes was spent waiting for traffic to exit Meridian Center, which may be a record for a speedy and relatively uneventful exit. Calls for service to the Brighton Police Department between June 8th and July 13th. A total, I'm sorry, Chief, I must be misreading this. It shows, year to date, 4,059 as compared to 3,800 last year. So year to date, July 13th, 4,059 calls for service as compared to 3,800 last year. Last, Brighton Police Department asks you to mark your calendars for the open house to be held on Tuesday, August 10th from 5 to 8 p.m. They'll show off equipment. You'll get a chance to meet the friendly officers of the Brighton Police Department and ask all the questions you ever had about policing in Brighton. The Rochester Fire Department, which currently covers the West Brighton area, report 97 incidents in West Brighton for the month of June, a total of 348 incidents for 2021. Engine 8 responded to a total of 88 incidents in the month of June, a total of 417 for 2021. Of the incidents that Engine 8 responded to in June, 81 were in West Brighton. This is a total of 291 incidents for 2021, and that represents 69.78% of Engine 8's total runs. The only alarm of significance during the month of June was a structure fire on East River Road. Fire occurred about 3 o'clock in the afternoon in a large shed behind McGinney's restaurant on River Road, and the Rochester Fire Department's Executive Deputy Chief arrived first and declared a working fire. As evidence of the collaborative work of our fire departments, Engine 8, Engine 7 and 13, Trucks 3 and 5, Rescue 11, and Protectives, Battalion Chief 2 and Line Deputy Chief also responded. Engine 3 reported to the fire station in West Brighton, to handle any potential other calls in the district, and the fire was declared under control in about 20 minutes. Very good work. Good news about personnel in the Rochester Fire Department. Captain Lawrence Brumfeld has been promoted to Battalion Chief and assigned to the Health and Safety Office, which means that Captain Trammell Parson has been assigned as the new company captain. Captain Parson is a 16-year veteran who has worked as a firefighter at Quint 2 on Dewey Avenue and Engine 16 on Hudson. And as a floating officer, he has worked all around the city and has assisted numerous recruit classes. So he's quite seasoned. The Rochester Fire Department continues to monitor the current COVID-19 response guidelines and responds as recommended. In other matters before the Public Safety Committee, the discussion of school speed limits and a review of the schedule of streets will be taken up by community members who are engaged with Brighton Safe Street for All. Will be tidying up that review and presenting recommendations to the Department of Public Works for possible alignment of school zone speeds and signage around the areas where our children are busiest during the school year and all summer long. In the meantime, of course, obey all traffic signs and watch for children everywhere. The matter of traffic safety at Elmwood, David Avenue, and Johns Arbor Drive intersection has been somewhat backburnered. However, with the upcoming potential for Elmwood Avenue being reconfigured with the cycle track and additional pedestrian amenities, there will be an opportunity to review the proposed improvements and see if there can be an intersection, so to speak, of improvements along the avenue and at that intersection. A request for no parking along Schilling Road, particularly at the roundabouts and turnaround areas on the cul-de-sacs, was given great consideration with considerable input from the fire and ambulance departments. We are giving consideration to neighborhood amenities to make it clear that parking should not take place on the center islands of the cul-de-sacs and really enhance the community gathering space aspect of those circles. We'll explore the potential for that and continue to remind residents that parking on the cul-de-sacs is not appropriate. Park along the street. Another matter presented to the board, follow up on a request for children at play sign at the entrance to Brittany Circle. The children at play signs are technically in conflict with the recommendation of the MUTCD, which is the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices that's used nationally for guidance on traffic safety and signaling. It was a very involved discussion, very philosophical discussion, and the concern from the professionals who compile the MUTCD is that signs like children at play are commonly ignored, and installation could cause liability to fall to the town of Brighton should a child be injured. After some discussion, we have determined that the street will be reviewed for a street speed limit posting, which is 25 miles an hour throughout the town of Brighton on town streets in neighborhoods, whether posted or not. But it is thought that posting that speed limit at the entrance to Brittany Circle will help with reminders to drivers into the neighborhood to be more cautious than they have been previously, and will consider other ways of indicating children at play.
Christine, the traffic speed limit within the town is 30. We'll reduce it to 25.
Thank you for clarifying. I'd love to see a 25 everywhere, but that's just me. I drive slow.
I think the town
everywhere.
tried that a while back.
Yeah, actually, I think a lot of us would, and it's something that the town did try, and we were not able to get support from the local government folks in the governor's office, and so therefore we continue to have to do it piecemeal.
Right, it would take a state legislative act, not
Right.
just a local law.
Correct.
Have we determined that Brittany Circle is 25?
No, Brittany Circle right now, Chris, is 30. It is not marked, so if it's not marked, the speed limit is default 30 miles per hour.
And we've never adopted a local law that includes it as a 25. So I think that's something, obviously, I agree with you, Christine, that's something we should do
Yes.
yesterday, if not sooner.
Yeah. So that was the determination that we would like to enact that and post 25 miles an hour on that circle. And so, Ken, I think you've got homework for the two of us to take care of on that. One last item of business was traffic concerns on Warren Avenue. Neighbors in the area continue to have concerns about cut-through traffic moving through the area at high speed. Chief Catholdi has deployed the traffic monitor to collect data, and will have more information for us at the next public safety meeting about how folks are traveling through there. And again, the reminder, travel safely, know that people are going to be out and about, and I believe Warren is 30 miles an hour still, because I don't believe it is posted as anything other than that.
Not sure.
Not sure.
I can't confirm. I can take a look while you guys just take a look in our code and see if it was changed to 25.
But what I can confirm is that since the bus accident several years ago, eight or so years ago, Warren has been the subject of special attention from the Brighton Police Department, recognizing that it is, it is a cut-through and a fairly high volume cut-through. So, and I know we've heard from the neighbors on Warren, they do see our police on the street.
Yes.
But thanks, Chief, for getting some updated information.
Councilmember Corrado, Warren is 25 miles an hour in the code.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
So,
thought so. I thought it
reiterating-
was, but I wasn't positive.
Drive 25, please. The next Public Safety Committee meeting date is Tuesday, August 10th at 8 a.m. here in the auditorium. Those who wish to attend in person, follow the protocol, contact Town Hall so that we are aware you're attending, be ready to wear your mask. If you have matters of concern you'd like presented to the Public Safety Committee, you can submit them in advance or at the meeting. Contact information and more information is available at townofbrighton.org/Public Safety Committee. And that is all.
Thanks, Christine. Chris, Public Works.
Bill, I've reviewed the minutes of our July 6th meeting and all of the exhibits and so forth. It was a very extended meeting, which was handled in my absence during my vacation by Councilmember Jason DePonzio, and I thought it better that he actually report on it since he has more of the detail.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Jason.
The Public Works Committee, met last Tuesday, July 6th. The items that were discussed included during the open forum, we had a resident from Southwood Lane submitted a petition from the residents requesting that the roadway be improved and that the gutters be replaced. Commissioner Guyon agreed to investigate the condition of the gutters, and it will be discussed during our capital improvement review during our regular budget cycle as to whether the project will be included in a future CIP. Also, there was a matter discussed regarding Town Hall request for proposal for design and engineering services. The town will be seeking proposals from qualified architectural firms to secure architectural design and engineering services, to conduct a space needs assessment, code compliance evaluation, prepare design preliminary plans for the main level and lower level of the town hall building, including exterior improvements to the town hall facility. The information and plans will be the basis of design for future renovations to the town hall building. The DPW staff is requesting comments from the committee members regarding the scope of the proposal, and I believe we said by this Friday, right, Mike? Yep. Okay.
Thanks, Jason.
And also, we discussed 5G regulations. Town Attorney Ken Gordon briefly reviewed the information contained in the amended local law and the Small Communications Facility Design Manual for 5G installations within the town of Brighton. The local law will be scheduled for a future public hearing before the town board. Also, for the Climate Action Plan, the town has issued a request for proposals regarding the preparation of a climate action plan in the New York State Contract Reporter on June 18, 2021. Responses to the RFP were due on Thursday, July 8th, and are currently being reviewed by staff. And also, we had a presentation from the developer of the 1201 Elmwood Avenue Mixed-Use Development Incentive Zoning Project. The project was previously presented to the committee in 2017. The project is located within the city of Rochester and in the town of Brighton. The portion within the town is approximately 9.9 acres in size and includes the construction of 39 townhomes and the construction of an 80-unit apartment building. A portion of the apartment building will be reserved for frail senior residents, and all of the units will be developed as affordable housing. The 2017 plan also included a commercial building along Elmwood, which has been removed from the current proposal. The committee suggested that the applicant contact RTS to ensure that public transportation is available to and from the project, and the project will include bike amenities. The applicant will be holding a meeting with the Brickstone residents, which is adjacent to the site, to provide a project update, and a separate meeting with city residents will also be held. There are approvals required in the city of Rochester, and the applicant is also involved in obtaining financing, so it's to be determined then when it comes back before our board for the incentive zoning piece. As far as new business, Rob Richardson and Jenny Lowenstein of the Genesee/Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council presented the Clean Energy Communities 2.0 program to the Public Works Committee. The Clean Energy Communities program provides grants, direct technical support to communities, and recognition to local governments that demonstrate leadership in the area of clean energy. NYSERDA has identified 10 high-impact actions that local governments can undertake to save money, foster a vibrant economy, and improve the environment. By completing these high-impact actions, the town can earn points that will make it eligible for a clean energy community designation and also grant funding. And finally, a matter was discussed regarding dead ash trees along the park perimeters, particularly Roby Drive. Town staff has received an increase in concerns from residents whose property could be impacted from dead ash trees along the perimeter of the town parks. Additional funding may be required to address this situation, and it will be up for further discussion. The next meeting will take place on Tuesday, August 3rd. We meet at 9 in the morning in the main auditorium here at Town Hall. The public is invited to attend. We ask that you contact Town Hall to notify us of your attendance so appropriate protocols and accommodations can be met. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. We'll move now to new business. Start with the reading and approval of claims. Jason.
Yes, Bill, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $603,727.51. Notable claims include to the City of Rochester Fire Department in the amount of $37,458.41, representing the 2021 2% fire insurance tax distribution for the West Brighton Fire Protection District. Also to the Depository Trust Company in the amount of $93,281.25, representing payment on the 2019 serial bond for the Highland Crossing Trail and highway equipment, namely brush and dump / snowplow trucks and Havens Road reconstruction. Of that amount, $85,000 was applied towards principal. Also to 72 elections inspectors in the amount of $18,530, representing payment for their services on primary day at polling sites here within the town of Brighton. We thank them for their service on that long day. They get here at 5 in the morning and they go until 10 at night. So it's a very, very long day. And they help to ensure that the elections are run very smoothly. Also to Rochester Asphalt Materials in the amount of $15,320.47, representing payment for road materials for Torrington Drive and other paving projects. And finally, to Suit Coat Corporation in the amount of $139,603.69, representing payment for oil and stone, which is for chip seal, and crack seal fillers for road maintenance projects. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second?
Any discussion on any of those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin, if you'd take the next one?
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with FoodLink, Inc. to provide meals for the Brighton Seniors Program, Grab and Go Weekly Meal Program for a term effective nunc pro tunc, July 7th, 2021 through September 29th, 2021, with the option to renew as needed. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
FoodLink, Inc.
Yeah, FoodLink, Inc. It's late, we're giddy.
Oh, God. Yeah, this will allow our Brighton Recreation Seniors Grab and Go program to continue as we transition back to in-person activities in the rec department. One of those programs that I think more than any other program we're really looking forward to getting back in person is the regular lunch program with the seniors. And this Grab and Go agreement with FoodLink will allow us to continue offering that outside contact-free takeout until we get back in person, which should be very, very soon. But this is a good arrangement, and I'm glad Emily and Becky were able to put it together. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. A lot of scrutiny on this next one. Budget transfer to buy a desk and a chair in the town clerk's office. Jason, can I have a
Yes,
motion on
with
that?
respect to the matter to approve budget transfers in the town clerk's office in an amount totaling $1,050 for the purchase of a desk and chair, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second?
Bill, if I might ask, how did that chair break, Dan?
Use?
Just use.
Use?
How old was it?
I'm not sure what you're insinuating.
In the town clerk's defense, his chair is not the only chair that's broken recently. I don't know, it's been a bad summer.
It's actually been broken for quite some time. Just finally, it pitches forward. It's uncomfortable. It's the thing. But more importantly, the desk is for. So we partially when COVID, in the interest of trying to give everybody on the staff their own distinct workspaces. So with the part-time job shares that we have, so we have each of those spots have their own space, which I think is a little more dignified workspace than a small shared desk. Considering
I think in my 10
work
years
that
on
they
the,
do.
on my 10 years on the board, Dan, you've never asked for any new furniture, so.
I would have, but COVID squashed the counter project. But
Yes, right.
We'll circle back to that.
More to
one of these
follow,
days.
yeah. I know, Jason, you made that motion. Who seconded that?
Robin.
Robin. All right. So any more grilling for Dan on? If not, Dan, call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris, if you'd take the next one,
Next
please.
item is to approve title changes in the sewer and highway departments and to amend the organizational charts of both departments to reflect these changes. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Mike, would you like to talk about this one a little bit?
I'll make it quick, as we did discuss it at length and fast, but we'd like to better align our current titles with the actual work that the folks are doing at the highway department. So what we're looking to do is modify the deputy highway superintendent and change his title to deputy commissioner of public works. What that enables us to do right now, Steve Zimmer obviously is our deputy highway superintendent. He formerly oversaw the sewer department. This new title will allow him flexibility to also oversee the sewer department. Not that it isn't happening now, but this sort of cleans it up. We'd also like to change the sewer inspector title to sewer foreman title. It just better aligns the duties of the sewer, of what the sewer inspector does. The sewer inspector is basically running the department. He's not doing so much inspection. He is running the department, and that is more the role of a foreman. I also provided a sort of an existing org chart versus a proposed org chart in your packets. I think that explains it very well. Right now, the deputy highway superintendent and the sewer inspector are directly under my guidance or directly under my authority. This will allow the deputy commissioner to take on both the highway and the sewer, and it falls more under his purview, and then I'll work with Steve to make sure we're getting everything completed. This is a zero budget. The salaries all remain the same.
Great, thank you. Further discussion? As Mike said, we did have a lengthy discussion on it in Public Works Committee. If there's nothing further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris, I'll let you do both of these public hearings being set for 2 new refuse districts.
Yes, Bill. The next two are to set a public hearing for the proposed creation of the Hibiscus Drive Refuse District. I move that we adopt that resolution before us. And the second one, continue, is to set a public hearing for the proposed creation of the Terrain Drive Refuse District. I also move that we adopt the resolution before us on that.
And let's take those separately. Ken is indicating to me, that'll make it clearer.
All right, so first, I move that we adopt the resolution regarding the Hibiscus Drive Refuse District.
And if I can get a second?
Second.
And as you see, we do
Pardon me,
have...
this is for the, setting the public hearing, not
This is to
adopting.
set the public hearing, yep. And as you see, and we have more than a majority of the assessed valuation of the property owners, 63.79%, that have signed that petition. And we'll be holding that public hearing at our August 11th meeting.
Just to clarify for the board, although the name of this refuse district is the Hibiscus Drive Refuse District, the district also encompasses the properties on Crandon Way and Coral Way in the same neighborhood.
Thanks. Good point. So we have a motion and a second on that. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye.
And the next matter is to set a public hearing for the proposed creation of the Terrain Drive Refuse District. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And similar set of circumstances here. Again, more than a majority of owners of assessed valuation within the proposed district.
See who finds it first.
Again, it's August 11th date. And If I recall, we've got properties on terrain and then one property that is on Edgewood. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. As Jason alluded earlier, the next item is the amendment of a previously adopted elector-initiated dissolution plan for the West Brighton Fire Protection District. Christine.
So on the matter of that amendment of elector-initiated dissolution plan for the West Brighton Fire Protection District, and setting of a public hearing on extension of Henrietta Fire District into West Brighton, I move that we set a public hearing on July 28th at 7:30 p.m. to adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
That's not exactly what the resolution states. So the resolution that I prepared actually states that you are adopting tonight the amended dissolution plan. The public hearing is merely to have a public hearing on the extension of the Henrietta Fire District. It's something that is a technical requirement under Town Law, Section 170.
So let's change the motion simply to read, to approve the motion in the form prepared by the town attorney. But then I am going to go back to you to go into it in a little more detail. So that's the motion, and is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is that acceptable to you, Ms. Corrado?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, because there are a lot of moving parts in this resolution, and Ken, I'll let you add on. Jason, aptly described the review that we did at the Finance Committee and the analysis of the 4 proposals, but if you could talk a little bit about the resolution itself and what
Sure.
we're doing now.
As the board may recall, the City of Rochester, which is currently providing fire protection service under contract to the West Brighton Fire Protection District, is continuing to do so under a contract that expires at the end of this calendar year, 2021. And the town, which runs, as you are the commissioners of the West Brighton Fire Protection District, has been working on a solution to provide both effective and economical fire protection for the West Brighton residents for quite some time. And the City of Rochester has stepped in and done a fabulous job providing that fire protection over the last, believe it or not, 8+ years. What you authorized about a month or so ago is to send out a request for proposals that was sent out to 4 fire districts or departments. The Rochester City Fire Department certainly got their request for a proposal and submitted a proposal, as did the Brighton Fire District, as did the Gates Fire District and the Henrietta Fire District. And after reviewing all of the proposals, the proposal that came to the top, that provided both the most effective and economical service for the residents of West Brighton, was the Henrietta Fire District proposal. And that proposal is to, as it was back in 2013, when this board looked at a Henrietta Fire District proposal, is to extend the Henrietta Fire District into the West Brighton Fire Protection District, taking over all of that territory, and then providing fire protection services not only out of the West Henrietta Road Station, which is part of the West Brighton Fire Protection District, but also out of Henrietta's other facilities. For example, the Pinnacle Road Station, which is on Pinnacle Road just outside of the town of Brighton, just across Jefferson Road, in good and close proximity, for example, to the Winton Place Plaza, which is part of the West Brighton Fire Protection District. And so they have made that proposal. We have communicated with the Henrietta Fire District Commissioners and the chief and their attorney, and Supervisor Maley has spoken to the supervisor in the town of Henrietta as well, that it's our desire to take that proposal seriously if, of course, you approve it tonight.
And with the fire, I have also spoken with the fire chief.
And you've also spoken with the fire chief. Excellent. What that'll look like is by January 1st of 2022, Henrietta Fire District would extend into West Brighton, and all of those taxpayers would then be now serviced by the Henrietta Fire District. The Henrietta Fire District would staff the West Henrietta Road Fire Station, and the West Brighton Fire Protection District, which had been determined to be dissolved by the voters in the West Brighton Fire Protection District back in 2012, I believe, was when that vote was taken. Maybe it was 13, but I think it was 12. And that district will dissolve and no longer exist. And Henrietta Fire District will take over fire protection service. So tonight, you're being asked to amend the dissolution plan that you, as a town board, adopted in 2013, which already provided for the Henrietta Fire District to extend into the West Brighton Fire Protection District. The reason that the amendments are needed is because the financial terms have changed. For example, then we were still in the middle of litigation, and there was some uncertainty as to what was going to happen with the West Henrietta Road Fire Station and the other assets of what was then the West Brighton Fire Department. That litigation has been concluded. A receiver has been appointed who has liquidated all of the assets of the West Brighton Fire Department except for the two pieces of real property, one being property on Riverside Drive, which we're working on a purchase offer on. If somebody is interested in purchasing that property for non-fire use, and the West Henrietta Road Firehouse itself, which would be transferred to the Henrietta Fire District. So those things have changed. There is no longer the financial need to provide for a local taxing zone, which was contemplated back then, which would just encompass the taxpayers in West Brighton. So that's been eliminated, and the taxpayers in West Brighton will pay the same fire tax that everyone else in the Henrietta Fire District will be paying. One of the provisions also provides that the Henrietta Fire District will need a fire truck. And when that district takes over the West Brighton territory, it will need a new fire engine to run out of the West Henrietta Road Firehouse, and there needs to be a purchase of that. So that's a different financial matter that was not there back in 2013, but is provided for in the amended plan as well. So I don't want to read the entire plan because we've already been here long enough. But if you have any questions, I know it better than I'd like to, so please feel
Thanks,
free to
Ken.
ask.
That's a good, thorough description. Does anybody have any questions? As we've talked about, we are operating on a relatively short time frame, but doable time frame, working in partnership with Henrietta District, and had a great conversation with the chief today, and I think both sides are looking forward to implementing, putting the details, dotting the i's, crossing the t's, and making it all happen. So we have a motion and a second to amend that plan and to adopt this resolution. Any further discussion? If not, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Christine?
Sure. The last matter is addressing the appointment of Paul A. Johnson to the Conservation Board for a term effective immediately through December 31st, 2022. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Great candidate. Really had a wonderful interview with him earlier this week, and I say it all the time, but it's true. We are so fortunate here in Brighton to have so many talented people in a variety of areas that are willing to give their time, and Paul is another one.
And he is so eager to assume his duties that he attended last night's Conservation Board
good.
meeting to see the run of the show and the lay of the land. So we've got another very good member of that board.
Fantastic. I'm sorry, who seconded that one?
I did. Chris.
Chris did.
All right. Further discussion on Paul? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Just a couple of quick matters of the supervisor, really 2 meetings I want to make the community aware of, or 2 events, both in the West Brighton area. First, there is going to be a neighborhood meeting at the U of R Laser Lab, 250 East River Road, starting at 5:30. The U of R will be updating the community, and again, particularly the West Brighton community, about some planned changes and expansions at the Laser Lab. So I think I'm looking forward to hearing more about what they have in mind.
It's going to be a Zoom meeting. Is that
Zoom
correct?
and in person.
Yes,
And,
correct.
and the Zoom will be recorded for those who cannot attend.
Yeah. But they will also be doing it in person. Second, and also in West Brighton, there will be a Stop the Violence March and Rally. It's organized by the group United in Healing Through Hope, Clay Harris, who is very much involved and committed to addressing issues of violence. And he has been organizing marches and gatherings of people throughout the county, in the city, and in the towns. This will be the first town event, really focusing on the towns of Brighton, Henrietta, and Rush. For Brighton participants, the march will begin at 6:15 at Monroe Community Hospital. So if you're at the Laser Lab meeting, you're probably not going to get there in time. But it will march to parking lots E and F at MCC in Brighton, where they will be meeting people from Henrietta and Rush who are marching from the Bye Bye Baby store down East Henrietta Road near Jefferson for a rally to encourage communities to come together to address violence of all kinds. And that rally will be in parking lots E and F at MCC starting at about 7 o'clock. That's all I have. Matters of the town attorney.
I do not have anything. Thank you, Bill.
Matters of the town clerk.
Nothing this evening.
Matters of the board.
Nothing.
Then can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. I do not anticipate we'll be coming back into public session after that executive session. So we will see you again in person. We had so much fun tonight. We're going to do it again in 2 weeks on Wednesday, July 28th at 7 p.m. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.